Hey guys, welcome back to She Became Me podcast. Once again, my name is Lentina Rogers and I'm your host. And this is one of my co hosts, Yalonda J. Brown.
Hello, everybody.
So let's meet our next co host, which is Ronieka Howell.
Hello, welcome to
Hey,
the
Ronieka.
show. Hey,
Hey,
ladies.
Ronieka. Hey. So I want to let our guests know how excited we are today with our guest, which is ChocolateFe DaPoet. And we're going to continue our theme of living well with mindfulness, grace, and gratitude. And she is the perfect guest to help us with that theme for the month of May. So let's go ahead and get some information and insight about Chocolate Fee. Yolanda's going to go ahead and read her bio for you guys so you guys have an idea about who's coming to stage.
I'll just say, I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah.
We have not been in the same space in a minute.
And just for FYI, we vaccinated and we cool. We took our temperature and we good to go.
Good.
Good to see you, Ronieka. So ChocolateFe, she is a motivator, lupus survivor, owner of She Originals, poet and author who is on a mission to encourage girls and young women with low self-esteem to change the negative reflection they see in the mirror to the queen God created them to be. By also raising awareness for lupus, it shows that you should never give up on your dreams. We are excited to welcome our dynamic guest today to empower us and surely share some wisdom with us that is going to change our lives with her unique style of motivation. Let's welcome her.
ChocolateFe.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Queens.
Hello.
Hello, Queens. I tell you what, delay does not mean denial. It took a
Yes.
lot for me to get here. Technical difficulties,
Yes.
but we are here.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
So tell us, how's the weather in Jacksonville, Florida?
Well, right now it's about the low 70s, and it's a little bit rainy today.
Oh, well, we'll take
Yeah, a
it.
little cloudy.
We would take
We'll take
it.
Little cloudy today, but it's okay.
Okay. Well, go ahead and jump right in and tell our audience a little bit about who is ChocolateFe. Like, where did that name come from?
Well, actually, ChocolateFe is short for chocolate female. And
Okay.
I actually embraced that name when I first started loving myself again and loving the skin that I was in, because at one time I did not love my skin. I had a complex about being chocolate, but now I love the skin that I'm in, and I name myself ChocolateFe. Like I said, it's short for chocolate female. And I motivate young girls and young women to let them know that they were created on purpose, for purpose, and with a purpose, and that they are all queens. And I do that by spoken word and by motivating. And I speak to girls groups. I speak on lupus awareness because I am a 14-year lupus survivor.
Woo.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And look, I'm going to have a funny moment because I pretended like I couldn't see without these glasses. I'm going to have to put them back on.
I did the same thing, but I'm like, oh, I better put them back on.
I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, I'm ready now. Yeah. One thing about chocolate tea, I keep it real. So yes, I need these other set of eyes. But I love
Yeah.
motivating young girls and young women. And I want them to know no matter what you're stricken with, it's not just something that's medical. It can be a circumstance from your childhood or a certain situation. It's not you staying there, it's getting up that matters. And we all have the opportunity to get up. And some people say, well, when do I start? Start now.
Right. So tell us about the poet, that part of you.
I'm actually motivated. I had someone reach out to me right after my divorce, about 3.5 years ago. And they told me that my purpose would be through my pain. I didn't understand it at the time. I picked up my pen when I actually was going through a divorce.
Okay.
And I started writing again because I've been writing since I've been a preteen, but I never shared any of my poetry. And when I picked that pen back up, it just flowed. All of those feelings from hurt, anger, everything from the illness that I was going through, because I was also hospitalized at the time when a whole bunch of pain came out. And I started writing again. And it's so therapeutic. When I'm on stage, I actually become a different person. I connect with the audience, and that's my way of letting everything out. And like I said, it's so therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
And that's my way of motivating and reaching out to the crowd. So I love it. I love being on stage. I love the reaction in the audience's eyes to know that I've touched them in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
Right.
That's great.
Right. So how often do you perform and do poetry?
Oh, well, sometimes sometimes it's hand in hand. I may perform. Like I said, this is a busy time for me. I'm actually booked the rest of this month, May, June. I'm booked throughout the summer. I have a wedding in September. I'll be out of the country in July. So basically, the summer is booked. And but I try to fit things in and make sure I keep things in order, because when I started everything, I'm gonna tell you, I tried to do this here. I wouldn't say no to anything. And I had to ask God to add order to my day, because if we're doing a little bit here and a little bit there, then we're not giving the full 100%.
Yeah.
So I make sure I choose my engagement wisely.
Yeah.
So I perform often. That's the best that I can say. I perform often,
Okay.
but I allow myself time for self-care
Yes.
because I also have an accessories business. So I have to allow time for that as well. And I do travel. So I don't just perform in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yes, I do travel.
Good.
So how ChocolateFe I love what your website said, that you made a decision that you would not let your diagnosis dictate your destiny. And in a time like, well, what we've experienced over the past year, almost year and a half, in the midst of COVID, and what I just believe has been an eye-opening health crisis. And what encouragement have you found, whether it be through your poetry or other motivators, number one, to help others, young and seasoned, take accountability for their health, and not allowing even the pandemic itself, not COVID and all of these other things that have impacted many. And there's definitely no disrespect to that, because COVID has wreaked havoc in the lives of myself and my family. But there's also been an eye-opening situation as to how do we take accountability and be responsible for our health and wellness and be serious about it.
Exactly. And there are two ways for me to answer that question. First, when the pandemic first hit, of course, none of us were prepared for the magnitude that it would hit us. Everything just stopped. We could either use that time to give up, or we can find other ways to do things. A lot of us found other ways to do things. I was so busy at that time, but I was also disorganized. So by the pandemic hitting, it allowed my brain a chance to kind of shut down a little bit and reorganize some things.
Right.
That is when I wrote Dear Brown Girl, which has basically become the mantra for ChocolateFe. And it took on a life of its own. And this pandemic has actually been the best thing for me, because it allowed me to focus. And when I focused, I was able to put things in a direction that they were supposed to go in. And also, as far as how do I do what I do? There are times when I want to give up. And I promise you, every time when I feel like I can't get out that bed, I can't take another step, it's hard to walk, my voice is being affected, I either get an inbox, a phone call, a letter from a little girl, A young lady reaching out telling me that she just found out she had lupus. How do I do it? Someone saying something about having low self-esteem. They saw something that I wrote, a performance that I did. So every time that I think about even slowing down, God sends that reminder to me, and it will come in the form of a testimony. And that's why I continue to do what I do, because our gifts are not ours.
Right.
It's for other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
And I tell people that when I was diagnosed with lupus, I feel like I was chosen. I feel like God chose me because he thought that I was ready at that time so I could help others, because I wasn't strong enough back then.
Right.
Now I know it didn't just happen to me. It's not a punishment. It's for me to get up off my butt, encourage others, to let them know no matter what you're going through, as long as you have a pulse, you have a purpose.
Mm.
Miss Fee, how did
Yes,
you I know that you shared about your experience 3 years prior to now. And so how did you mend the rift, not only with like the people around you, but with yourself? And what are some things that you did to what are the steps that you took to move forward? So if there's a young girl, or even and a woman that is dealing with the same thing that you dealt with 3 years ago, what would be like the first action step for her to move forward?
well, I would be real with you all. This is what I did. I started my prayer closet.
Okay.
That's the first thing that I did. I started with one Post-it note.
Mm-hmm.
I also had to take responsibility for my actions in it. Not that I deserved what happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to look at what did I do to contribute, okay, to contribute to what happened. No matter what happens in our life, we all have a part in it. So we can't just play victim. Not saying it's our fault, but you have to look at what did you do to contribute to the situation, okay? And there may be some things that we need to correct. If we look at ourselves honestly, we all have some things that we need to correct. And I looked in that mirror. And when I looked in that mirror, the outside part of me just fell off, and you start looking on the inside. And a lot of times we don't like to stand and look in the mirror and truly see what God is trying to tell us.
That's right.
Because if we do, then we know that there's some changes that need to be
Right.
made. So once I did that, I started journaling. I encourage everyone, you don't have to be a poet to have a journal. I encourage everyone to journal, write. You can write pros and cons of things. If you're trying to figure out a certain situation, you can write a letter to yourself, which is Dear Brown Girl was actually a letter that I wrote to my younger self. Okay. And like I said, I started my prayer closet and meditating, and that's what helped me. Was it easy? No, because I did not like what I saw, but I had to actually look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what, there's some things that I need to change so I don't repeat the same mistakes. And it's been a journey. My prayer closet now looks like a extra in War Room, if anyone has ever seen that movie. Oh, but it helps. It becomes a part of my routine, meditating, journaling, and writing poetry. So that's what has helped me. But we honestly have to look at ourselves, and we have to stop playing victim.
Amen.
Oh, woe is me. No.
Yeah.
So we have to stop
good.
doing that. So that's what I did. And it's an ongoing process.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't just, it doesn't just stop. It is an ongoing process. But a lot of times we don't want to look at it. So when we go through things such as I went through a divorce, all we think about is what he did to me. No, it's what you allowed.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
You control what you allow in your space.
That's right.
Yes.
Not just your physical space, but your mental space as well.
Yes.
So now I live my life controlling what I allow in my space. So someone doesn't get on your nerves, you allow them to stomp on that nerve.
Yes.
Keep picking up the phone, or either you keep opening the door, or either you keep listening to the gossip. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
Yes.
So love someone from afar. You have to control what you allow in your space.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
ChocolateFe, because I don't know if you knew that, but we are 3 of the 14 authors for the book collaboration of She Became Me, A Letter to My Younger Self. So
Get at it.
yeah,
Look at God, the spirit of connection.
Yes.
Yes.
yes. So yeah, that book came out last year in 2020, and we
Okay.
won 2 awards. We won a national.
Congratulations, Queen.
Yeah, thank you. We won the national with American Book Fest. We won that. We were like one of the finalists for the best anthology for the year.
That is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about Brown Girl, your letter to your younger self.
Well, dear Brown Girl, like I said, it's a letter to my it's to my younger self. And
Yeah.
actually, the video is on YouTube. And I actually have a little girl, and she's actually portraying me
Okay.
when I was a preteen. And I go through and I basically just talk to her and I tell her the things that I know now. Basically, if she knew what I knew now, she would walk in her purpose. She wouldn't listen to
Yeah.
certain things. She would know, she is good enough. She is worthy.
Yes.
And it has become, I promise you, like an anthem. And I
Yeah.
did not know how powerful it would be because I just wrote it during the pandemic. But now I've taken it and it's become a movement. So what I do is I have a Dear Brown Girl package, and anyone that sends me information about a young girl that is low on self-esteem, is having some issues in any way, shape, fashion, or form, I send them a CD, Dear Brown Girl CD, a Dear Brown Girl t-shirt, and also a handwritten note from me.
Okay.
So that's why I need to know the little girl's ages, so the notes are age appropriate. So she gets a handwritten note. And the feedback that I have gotten is from as young as age 5 all the way up to 19. They love getting
I like
mail in
that.
their name.
Yeah.
They love the encouragement. They love knowing someone cares, and also taking the time to write a handwritten note or letter. We don't do that anymore.
Yes.
That's right.
So
Yeah, I
want
like that.
girls to encourage. Yeah. So it's handwritten, and it's so funny because I just look at me as me, but when you have a 5 or 6 year old saying, "I got a letter from ChocolateFe," and that is part of what keeps me going. And as long as there's girls out there that have low self-esteem, that don't love the skin that they're in, I have work to do. You all have work to do, because we want to make sure these girls know that they are worthy and that they are queens. So I do all of that at no cost to these little girls. And I've shipped all the way as far west as California, as far up as the Bronx, New York, as far south as Miami.
Nice.
Wow. Well,
I
I don't know about you ladies, but my wheels are spinning. Because that's kind of like what we do with She Became Me. I just kind of think we may have to do a collaboration with you and find,
Most definitely.
somebody like at least once a month.
Most definitely.
To see if
Because I
we
tell
can
you
get
what, we
somebody
have
to
to be
write in.
obedient as well.
Yeah.
We have to be obedient, because when I did it, you get your little CD or your book and you think, okay, I'm going to charge this. I'm going to make me some little money and stuff like that. But you know what? God said, gifted. Those were the words I was given. Gifted.
Yeah.
Okay. We have to be obedient to God's word.
Yeah.
And I have not missed a beat by gifting every CD, every t-shirt. I have not missed a meal or anything, but I have gained so much knowing that these little girls have been touched. And the pictures that I get back, they wear their t-shirts on the first day of school, birthday parties, things of that nature. So obedience is key.
Yes. What a testimony.
It is. It is.
Testimony. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
So we're gonna shift over to our part of the show that is called She-Mail. And what we do in She-Mail is we get a text, email, and we have our audience. They will write in and give us some questions and ask our opinion or point of view. And that's all it is our opinion and point of view. And we like to include the guests in on that as well. So I'm going to, pick one and read one of the emails that we got, and then we're all going to try to give a little bit of our opinion about it. So let me get one. Let me get one here. See what the first one will be. Okay. How do you deal with one-sided people when you're trying to evolve in your life? How do you deal with one-sided people when you're trying to evolve in your life? Man, who want to go first?
I don't know what you mean by one-sided, but I'll just think about what my take on it is. And
Yeah.
it goes back to me saying you control what you allow in your space. So how do you deal with someone? You control that. So if they're one-sided as far as they want to be right all the time, or they have a certain, habit that, doesn't agree with yours or whatever, you control the time that you're in that person's space. You control if you're going to be on the phone listening to whatever. You control if it come across your threshold in your home. So that's something that you control.
Yes.
So that would be my answer on that. And you don't have to be nasty to put boundaries
Definitely.
around yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that would be my thing. Put boundaries and you control what you're allowing.
Yeah. What you got, Ronieka?
I would just say, dealing with someone that's one-sided, and you said that, and let's see, one-sided when you're trying to evolve in your life. Well, I would say you must take the proper steps to continue evolving. Whatever it is that you are striving to do, you cannot allow that person or people around you to distract you from, where you are going, or allowing your passion to go meet what your purpose is. And so that person could be a distraction. But you can't take your focus off of what's in front of you to give that attention to that one-sided person. So I would just say, just take that attention off of that person, let them be who they are and let them do what they're going to do. And you stay focused on what God has placed before you to achieve.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's good. I believe, I look at this, I'm going to take the route of one-sided relationships.
Yeah.
And it took me a while. And when I say a while, like 50, turning 50, to say no more, that I wanted to assess the value of people in my life, because number one, life is short, and I've given a lot of people a pass for not reciprocating the same level of love that I give. And it's not about, some people say, well, everybody's not you, and you can't expect it's not expecting everyone to be me, but it's expecting that when I share my space, my life, my time, my energy with you, with the individual, that it's reciprocated, that I have something to get and give.
That's it.
We both do. And so really, I think it is okay to take those assessments and understand unhealthy and healthy relationships, understand toxicity and what it looks like. And when a person, if you're the one calling all the time, if you're the one giving all of the time, if you are the one that when you're on the phone with this person and the entire conversation is non-productive, all of those things. I mean, it's just, I came to a point where it's like, I literally had to say, it doesn't mean we have to fall out, but it means that my level of extending of myself has to change, has to shift for my own health.
You better preach.
And so, but it took me getting to 50 to say so, because sometimes we're so attached mentally to people. We're so attached to not wanting to be the one to walk away, and not being the one to initiate that crucial conversation with someone. I say I have a right to say what I deserve and expect out of a relationship.
Yes.
And if it's no longer serving both of us well, based on both of our expectations, then it is okay. I have to evolve. I have to move up, move up and beyond.
Yes.
And love me better so that I can love others better. And
That's
if that
right.
means walking away, so be it.
Yeah.
That
Hey,
was an
that was
entire
good.
word right now.
Yeah, for real.
That was the word.
Go on and pass the plate.
I'm ready
Pass
for
the plate.
benediction, pass the collection plate. That was an entire word. Yes. I received all of that. All of that. Yes.
Man, I agree with everything you guys have said. Only thing I want to add is that when I look at when terms of one-sidedness, is people that are not open to anyone else's point of view. People that are not open to seeing stuff on the other side. One of the things that I have recently, as you said, ChocolateFe, looking in the mirror and looking at myself, is to identify, trying really hard to see other people's point of view. But it doesn't mean we're going to agree. But I will take that time to try to see that point of view. But like Yalonda said, if it's not serving my purpose, it's not about right or wrong. Who or what, everybody's not meant to have a front row seat in your life.
That's right.
So you have to start figuring out who needs to be in the front row and who needs to be in a distance. And it's okay. And it's okay that people outgrow each other. It's okay that people are no longer in the same realm. I once seen a meme where there was an eagle flying in the sky and a fish with his head out the water. And what it said was, eagles can't hang out with a fish. And a fish can't leave the water and fly with the eagle.
That's right.
So, I think about that a lot. When you evolve and you are eagle, you have to fly. You can't stay in the water with that fish.
That's right.
So, I think of it that way. It's not a right or wrong. You just got to evolve and do what's for you, like you guys said. So, yeah. So let's
That's a great question.
let's take another one. It will seem simple, but it's complex. Okay, what are some ways to help my younger adult siblings deal with our generational trauma? I am over 50 years old. I feel like it is too late for me to deal with my trauma. What are some ways to help my younger adult siblings deal with our generational trauma? I am over 50 years old. I feel like it's too late to deal with my trauma.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would say have a conversation. Have the conversation. And it sounds like she is the older sibling and some things may have happened in the household and some things may have been kept, in, not revealed or some things of that nature. And that's something that is a very, very sensitive subject. It could be all forms of abuse. It could be anything that could have been happening. But I say have the conversation, and it needs to be in an environment that's not a threatening type of environment. So sometimes doing things in the same place where it happened, in the home, and that you need to choose an environment that is, I don't know what the word is, but something that's
safe.
To everyone, but have the conversation and not an accusatory type conversation. Just talk. Sometimes that's all we need to do. We put more on it than what it is. Talk. Just like I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. Talk. The time to start is now. I know what that's like to hold something in until you're 50. I'm 50 at this point, and I just revealed in my book some of the abuse that I went through in 7th grade. I kept all of that in. Even my mother didn't know what happened. You understand? So there's no right or wrong in it, but I say have the conversation.
I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Because right now you're just never you're never too old to heal. And I have a cousin, she lives in DC, and we talk, if not every night, every other night, about things from like family curses or things that was swept under the rug when we were younger and how it affected us. But let me tell you something, just by merely just talking about it, we have saved ourselves so much money for therapy. Number one, because we are actually we're talking about it and we're using each other to walk through, and it sometimes is hard because when you talk about those situations that have had us stuck where we are in life for so long to where you can't move forward, it's just freeing. And like you said, not going at it with an aggression or just like, oh my gosh, like I cannot believe it, but just being able to go back to whatever the moment is that has had you where you're at and walking through those situations so that you can move forward to the next thing. And then the next thing, and then the next thing. But I kid with her all the time. I joke with her and I tell her, honey, we have really saved each other like money, because these the little sessions are very helpful. Talk about it.
Yeah, that's good. And I would agree with both you, ChocolateFe, and Ronieka. And I'm just gonna add, pull in professional help if needed. I believe in therapy.
Yes.
And there's just a stigma in the African American community around mental illness, around therapy, and sometimes even acceptance of trauma in Black families.
Yes.
And not just Black families, but and honestly, I just, and when you've reached 50, so that means that we're in the same generation. And when we were younger, it just wasn't acceptable to talk about these things, and so now I can imagine she's wanting to shift the trajectory of her siblings' lives and save them some of, or she or he, we don't know if it's a male or female, but, save them some of the pain that maybe, she or he has endured. And discussing generational trauma, sometimes involves addressing things with older, seasoned people in the family who aren't even willing to say, call it trauma. So my advice would be, number one, you have to be willing, be open, but everybody's in a different space.
Yeah.
And you have to, I believe you have to have essential agreements. I can't just call my family together and say, block. And then everybody's not ready for it. And ready to receive it. And then it turns into a whole situation. So I think you have to ask people's permission to, this is my opinion, to address certain things, say certain things, and just say, are you okay with me discussing some hard, us having a crucial conversation about our childhood or about substance abuse or sexual abuse or whatever the case might be. And I think, or, what do you call it? Not habits, but consistent occurrences in our life. You know what I mean? Things that have been consistent, in our life and that weren't good for us or whatever the case might be. But what do you think?
Well, I definitely think that it's a good idea to have a mediator. And that person, and a lot of times, because the work that I do by trade is work with families, and a lot of people don't trust the professionals for us, like a psychiatrist, trauma specialist, and people of that nature. So if they're not going to do that, then you need to pick someone that will be a mediator that everybody respects their opinion, that they think is a fair person. And it could be a person that kind of know everyone, or it could be someone that knows no one. Because somebody that don't have a horse in the race, they don't have anything to gain one way or the other. They're just listening, and you could pick someone that don't really know anything, but will help you guys just sort out, this is what I see. Because somebody that sees all sides may be able to be more neutral or objective, to see, tell each person, because sometimes we have what you call the self-righteous.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
and the self-righteous is people that think they live their life completely right. Their entire life. They think if they can quote the Bible, they think because they go to church and sit on the front row every Sunday.
That's that one-sided.
The one-sidedness.
That's right. And they think because they're on the usher board or the pastor board or somewhere, that they seem to think that everything that comes out of their mouth or what they think is like Jesus said it. So, that it usually like the show Ayana, you watch them sometimes. And when she bring that hard truth to people that didn't think it was going to be about them, they get up and walk off.
Katrina, what you said is absolutely correct, because that mediator can help us not only hear but listen.
Yes.
Because a lot of times what you say is not what I heard, because I'm not listening.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think definitely, they're not going to do a professional trauma specialist or psychiatrist or psychologist or anything of that nature. I would say have a mediator to help keep things, in a good space, in a good place, and that nobody that has a horse in the race is in charge of who's listening, who's talking. It make everybody stop and listen and take control. So yeah, that was a good one.
Good.
Trying to see you guys. Do we got time for one more? What we looking like
I
on
think
time?
we got time for one more.
Okay, let's do one more, guys. Okay, it says, can you give some advice on how to forgive? Can you give some advice on how to forgive?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Just do it. How did it affect you? Why are you so angry? Why are you feeling some type of way? And I think if that other person not only hears, but listen to how their action made you feel. And if you know that it's respected, that, when you said this or when you did this, it made me feel like this. Because sometimes we give a blanket apology. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. But it's not sincere. And that can be a lot of it, also. If a person doesn't give a sincere apology, then that's a problem. But if there's a sincere apology, because I don't know that what I said hurt you and you're walking around angry, then I don't know that I need to apologize because I didn't know it hurt your feelings. You want forgiveness, but you didn't tell me that I hurt you. So communication. That's my thing, communication, because we can't assume people know how we feel or what we're thinking. So we have to open up our mouth and talk and have the conversation. So communication.
That's good. And I would just add to that, just remembering that forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for yourself. And when you're able to forgive that other person for whatever reason or whatever thing that it may be, it's for you to be able to move forward.
Right.
And so the longer you go without forgiving them, the longer you're giving them control over your life.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Good. I don't have anything to add. Forgiveness is hard. Forgiveness is hard.
It's very hard.
As a Christian, I'm commanded to do so. and it is hard. It is a very hard thing. And I think forgiveness of self is hard. Making sure that we're not internalizing the ills and of our past and understanding that our mistakes don't define us, and the fact, from a faith-based perspective, God forgives us.
Yes, he does.
So I really check myself with that more than anything else. How dare I not give that same grace to someone else? It's still hard. So I'm not gonna pretend that I got it all in the bag, because I don't. But it takes work and it takes intentionality.
Yes. And may I add something also to the viewer who asked that question? One thing that I did to work on forgiveness is I took out a piece of paper and I wrote out a list of who I needed to forgive and what I needed to forgive them for. And I was challenged to either call them, text them, snail mail them, email them, whatever form of communication, all of the forms of communication that we have, you choose which one that you want for each whatever person it is. And you just, when you do one person, it might take months, it might take a year, 6 months, it might take a year, but you cross that person off and you just work your way down that list. Because one thing that I did discover when I was dealing with unforgiveness is that we cannot pick and choose who we are going to forgive.
Right.
And it's good.
You gonna get out.
So that's a challenge.
I had to forgive a family member for something that affected me, but then I had to look at the other side of it. That person made the best decisions that they felt like they could make at that time, at that young age. So we have to look at the other person, look at, the situation from the other side. It's not always, you can't be one-sided.
Yes, that's right.
So that's why, I have to forgive, because if I was in that position at that age, at that time, I may have made that same decision that I'm so angry at now. So that's how I was able to forgive. So, wow, these are some wonderful questions.
It's funny how everything that we had today kind of tied in with each other. It all kind of piggyback off each other. And the only thing I want to add is kind of just piggyback off what you just said, ChocolateFe, is that until I was able to forgive myself, I had no way to forgive anybody else. So it's like something that you have to acquire within self. So it's kind of like, you can't give love if you don't know how to love. You can't give what you don't have. So, when you evolve to a place to forgive self, give yourself that grace first. Then you'll know how to give it to someone else. So what I do is I learn to just forgive people because they are once where I was. I wasn't always where I am.
That's right.
I wasn't always who I am today. So I have to forgive and give the same grace that God gave me and other people gave me while I was stuck in those positions. So that's kind of like the best thing I would say. Just remember that you wasn't always seasoned. You wasn't always experienced. You wasn't always great. So you just, we're working. So that's what I'll say. That should help put you in perspective on forgiving others until they get there.
That's good. That's good. And so if there's anyone that's out there that would like for us to answer any of your questions, you could feel free to write your question and send it to shebecameme2020 at gmail.com. And also make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can stay in the know of what's coming up next with She Became Me. Just so that you can stay abreast of what all of the wonderful things that are going to be happening and coming up soon.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ronieka. I would like to thank our sponsor, Enhanced DNA Publishing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sponsoring She Became Me. And then.
So, ChocolateFe, can you let our audience know how can they get in touch with you for like all the wonderful things you do, how they can book you for an event?
Yes. You can go on my website, www.ChocolateFe DaPoet, that's DaPoet.com, www.ChocolateFeDaPoet.com. My booking information is there as well. On social media, Facebook and Instagram, I am ChocolateFe DaPoet, DaPoet, ChocolateFe DaPoet, Facebook and Instagram. Twitter, it's Fee_chocolate. LinkedIn is ChocolateFe DaPoet. Email is ispeak@chocolatefee.com. The letter I, SPEAK, @chocolatefee.com. And I also have my compilation of poetry available on Amazon. It is Pieces of Me. It looks like this on the cover. Looks like this, Pieces of Me by ChocolateFe. And it's just a compilation of poetry. So I am so very excited. These were some wonderful questions, and they tied in actually to what I do where I've been and what I'm currently in now. So thank you. I thank your audience, and I thank you, Queens, as well.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you for being with
Yeah,
us and
yes.
sharing yourself.
Yes.
Man, we had a really good time just chatting with you. But we hate to go, but we have come to that time where we have to say so long to our audience until next time. So until next time, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.